And I want to preface this before I keep going, because I know some of you guys in the comments are going to go crazy. I'm not advocating for people to drink a lot of soda. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the claims that he's making around sugar being addictive are incorrect. Also bad advice, do not start eating liver. This is one of the biggest scam artists on Instagram trying to sell you a carnivore-based diet, and he's fallen trapped to this. Should you eliminate foods completely from your diet to lose weight and build muscle? I'm actually going to go over it by reviewing the 6 foods that Josh Bridges cut out for better health. Now, it's easy to go through this, and I was actually going to do a day of eating review by Josh, but I actually like this a lot better. So if you're looking to recomp, look better, feel healthier, especially long-term for yourself and for your kids, you're going to want to watch this whole video until the end. And the 6th food that he puts on here is actually going to surprise a lot of you. And I'm going to review whether you can have some of these foods in moderation, you can have a lot of these foods, what Josh is completely wrong about, and what you should be actually eliminating to get the best possible results. Now, before we get going, please go ahead and click that subscribe button. 70 to 80% of you that watch these videos are not currently subscribed, and therefore you don't get notified whenever we put out more badass videos and reviews. So if you like this video, give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Now, let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and press play and go through some of the first foods that Josh Bridges hates and does not include in his diet at all.
Just getting rid of all the junk.
Getting rid of the junk.
If you want to lose weight, feel better, sleep better, less anxiety, all the things that I've done to eliminate, just trying to live a healthier, longer life, feel better, sleep better, bigger muscles, look jacked, shredded, have a 6-pack, all the things, the list of things that everyone wants. So here's my list. I'm not going to put a number on it because as I'm talking about it, more things might come to mind.
Okay, so Josh is already making correlation between what you put in your body and your overall health, which he's completely right about, and what you put in your overall body and how you look, which he's also is completely accurate, basically. A lot of us are focused more on the training side, not the nutrition side, when our real goal is to look better. If your goal is to look better, you have to be focusing on what you're putting into your body and your overall nutrition.
But number 1, alcohol, right? Everything about alcohol is going to hurt your sleep. It's going to hurt your recovery.
Yep.
It's going to make you be lazy. You're not going to want to work out. I'm not saying remove alcohol completely, but I would limit it as much as possible. When I've done that in my life, the times that I've had, I haven't drank, which is normally like for me, I'll just be like, I'm not going to drink for however long. I don't have any issues with it. Yeah, and sometimes it can be hard, right? When you're out with friends and everyone's having a drink and it looks good. But, I just know that I'm going to sleep better when I'm not drinking. I'm going to feel more recovered. I'm going to be more inclined to go get a workout in. All the things that I really enjoy now. And I like the way I feel more when I don't drink than I like the feeling of when I'm drinking.
I'm going to pause here and go over this. Josh is absolutely right about this. Now, there's a few things in this video I think he's going to get wrong. I've seen the list, but I'm actually reacting to this live. He's absolutely right about alcohol. It's a toxin, and limiting it as much as possible has shown in several studies that there are better health outcomes overall. Better body composition, better health outcomes, you name it. Now, there are a few nuances with alcohol. Now, having a drink once to twice per week is not going to expedite your demise, but alcohol in general has a couple of reasons why it's not only going to predict lower health outcomes for people, but indirectly affects some of the other goals that I know you guys have, like losing fat and building muscle. Alcohol itself is going to affect sleep. It affects deep sleep primarily, and it also affects mood. One thing it does remarkably well is it alters the prefrontal cortex. And I'm using like a lot. It affects the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex it's a decision-making part of the brain. Now, whenever we affect that decision-making part of the brain, what happens? It's altered. This is why we drink and drive. Not the smartest thing to do, but you see it all the time, and you have a drink or two and you think it's okay. This is why we have high-calorie foods, not only the night that we drink, but the next day. is because our prefrontal cortex is trying to figure out ways to make better decisions, but it can't. Alcohol has altered that, and therefore we're making poor decisions with food when we know we should be making different decisions. And additionally, yeah, if it affects sleep, it's going to affect recovery, and the next day you're less likely to work out when you've had a bunch of alcohol the night before. And so these are all other reasons outside of just the calorie thing that, contributes to drinking more alcohol that can affect your goals long term.
So if that makes sense. So number one, alcohol, cut it out. Immediately you will lose weight if that's your goal, right?
It depends on how much alcohol you're drinking. If you stop drinking alcohol and you just replace that with calories from food, you're not going to lose weight. But for all intents and purposes, to keep things simple, which I feel Josh is trying. Josh is not a nutritionist, right? He wants to keep things simple for you guys. You will have better health outcomes, and the possibility of losing weight and fat specifically is going to be much higher when you cut out alcohol.
You want to lose weight, cut out alcohol, 100%. Number two, soda. I couldn't tell you the last time I drank a soda was. I used to drink as a kid. I used to drink a lot of soda. I loved it. Big Dr. Pepper, Coca-Cola guy. And I get it, man. I mean, but there's a reason why you feel like you want to drink soda. It's because sugar is the most addictive, probably one of the most addictive things out there on the planet that we don't talk about.
All right, so pause for a second there. I was with him on the soda thing. I think drinking liquid calories is going to inherently cause more fat gain. If drinking liquid calories is because, there's more calories associated with soda, and then you have to eat less calories of actual food to be at calorie balance, which is your maintenance or your level TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. However, sugar is not addictive. And I've seen people online almost call them dumbasses, but that's basically what they are. Talk about this when they know better, right? If you don't know any better and you genuinely believe sugar is addictive, no problem. I'm going to explain why it's not here in a minute. But if you know better and you're trying to use sugar to fearmonger people, which happens online all the time, and so when it comes to sugar, every carbohydrate that we eat, oatmeal, broccoli, any other fruit or vegetable, is going to get broken down to sugar. In fact, fruit is already sugar. It's fructose. And so he's making a correlation between soda and sugar when he shouldn't be making that correlation, because other foods also have sugar in them, like fruit, for example, and are healthy, and other foods get broken down into individual monosaccharides, which is sugar, sucrose, glucose. These things are all fine to eat over time. Now, what the causation that he should be making here and connection he should be making is that usually soda, especially drinking multiple throughout the day, is associated with a higher calorie intake, and that higher calorie intake is causing obesity, which we know. More calories, more obesity, that's a problem. Back to the sugar is addictive. Sugar is not addictive. There's no studies and research out there to show that sugar is addictive. Because if that was the case, broccoli would be addictive. And nobody's addicted to broccoli, right? Broccoli gets broken down into sugar. We crave hyperpalatable, high-calorie foods. We crave these foods because long ago, our ancestors would not have the same food availability that we have. We have food availability right now while I'm making this video. I'm going to be done here in probably 10 minutes, maybe less. I could get somebody to bring food right to my doorstep in any caloric amount that I wanted. So food availability back then was not the same as it is now. So we have these biological mechanisms that when we don't eat enough or it's time to eat, we should eat as much as possible because we don't know when we're going to eat again. And these mechanisms have followed us as humans in our physiology for a really long time. Now, the way to get around that is eat consistently throughout the day and feel less hungry, and that less deprivation feeling that you have around food is better. But sugar itself is not addicting. We are and want hyperpalatable, high-calorie foods because we're biologically and mechanistically trained to not know when our next meal is going to come. And so sugar is not addictive at all. There's no studies or research indicating that, and I would love to see meta-analyses on this. Obviously, maybe he's using addictive as a term that people love sugar and they want to incorporate more of it into their diet, but addictive is not the correct word here.
A goal of losing weight, cut out soda, 100%. You will lose weight without a question. Those are empty calories that really don't do anything for you. So
he's right about that. Empty calories, you can probably get a lot more from food and benefits from food than drinking straight up soda.
Remove soda. There's so many good, hydration drinks out there now with flavor that, can be just as tasty as a soda, if not better. So again, I like the way I feel when I don't drink soda more than I like the way I feel when I drink soda. So
Yeah, he makes a good point here. He's talking about habit replacement. Habit replacement is where you take an existing habit, meaning you drink soda, and you replace it with something else. Extremely, extremely effective. So some people do this by switching to diet soda, which doesn't have the sugar that he's been referring to, or to seltzer drinks, or Gatorade Zero, or some of the electrolyte drinks that he's referring to that are basically 0 calorie for all intents and purposes. This habit replacement can work really well, and yes, he's right about the empty calories. Having a soda here and there is probably not a big deal if your caloric amount is not exceeding, over what you need to lose the weight that you want, but nonetheless, he's definitely correct about that habit replacement strategy you can utilize to cut out the diet, the soda in general, and go to something that is going to be more reflective of the goals that you have.
Starting to have that correlation with things. And, these are the same things I'm trying to teach my children as well, right? Like, yeah, every once in a while, I'll let them have a soda just to show them how shitty they feel after they drink it. They love the way it
Well, I get that he says he feels crappy after it. That's very subjective, first off. And second off, soda itself, with the sugar inside of it, can be utilized. We know sugar, everybody demonizes sugar, but there's honestly no issue with it if you use it strategically as post-workout fuel. And it's actually going to make you feel better post-workout having sugar than not having anything, because your body wants to recover, and giving it high glycemic carbohydrates like soda or sugar, candy. You guys see our games athletes do this all the time. They eat sugar strategically, can be super beneficial. So he's kind of making a blanket overall statement that you feel crappy when you drink soda or have sugar. But the reality is he's probably not using it strategically. He's like having a soda for dinner with his meal when he didn't work out that day, or he worked out earlier in the day. That's not using any sugar or sugar in general strategically.
But they're like, they crash. Their teeth feel slimy and grimy. All the things that come along with that, those types of things. And so
brush your teeth.
Alcohol, soda, those two things right there are probably two of the biggest things if you're trying to lose weight. An easy way to lose.
And I want to preface this before I keep going, because I know some of you guys in the comments are going to go crazy. I'm not advocating for people to drink a lot of soda. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the claims that he's making around sugar being addictive are incorrect, and that if you have a soda every now and then, it's not the worst thing in the world if you use it strategically as a post-workout refuel source. If you're training hard, you're honest with yourself, you want to have a soda every now and then post-workout, it's honestly not a big deal. Let's see what food number 3 is.
Number 3 kind of goes along with soda is sugar, right? Processed sugar. So cookies.
I already covered this. He's going to say a lot of processed foods, and it's totally fine. Eliminating processed foods can be a great way for weight loss and body recomp and fueling for your workouts better. However, he's correlating sugar with processed foods when sugar is in processed foods. Sugar is not the problem. It's high calorie processed foods. Let's see what he says.
Anything with sugar in them. And again, it's just, they're so addicting. And when you stop eating that shit, you don't crave it as much. But when you are eating it, when you do sneak a couple, cookies or chocolate chips or whatever your, little thing is that you have to have, you realize that you start to you're like, I want some more. I want some more. I want some more. And it's kind of crazy how addictive that sugar is.
It's not addictive. It's palate reprogramming. So he's associating addictiveness with sugar, and this is not right, once again.
So cut sugar out, man. I mean, I sleep so much better. I feel better. I don't have those crashes anymore. So yeah, sugar's a big one. Anything in the middle of the grocery store, right? Anything in boxes, right? That's been processed, and they hide sugars in there. They hide crappy shit in there.
That's a really good thing that he said, and I agree with it completely. Limiting sugar when it's not strategic for you in processed foods, 100% correct. The middle of the grocery store analogy he made, also excellent. A lot of the stuff in that middle of the grocery store aisle is going to be a lot more processed. Hidden sugars is a bit of a stretch. You have to actually on the label show how many grams of sugar are in per serving. So they're not really hidden, but nonetheless, that middle of the grocery store analogy, I actually love that. That should be like 10% of your grocery list. Really, really love that he mentioned that.
And they're like seed oils. They hide
seed oils, okay.
Stuff we don't even know what it is. Like words I can't even can't even freaking say are in the ingredients label. So look for things with minimum ingredients. That's a huge aspect of that, of eating this way. And yeah. And number 4, or I don't even know what number this is now anymore, but this one might be a shocker. And this is, like maybe try it and see how you feel. But for me, I cut out vegetables. The only vegetables I eat are sweet potatoes, and everything else I have cut out. Some people, like, it goes against everything that we've ever been taught, eat your leafy greens, blah, blah, blah. I think, like,
I'm interested on this.
You know how if you go into a grocery store and it says, oh, these chips have no trans fat, or they have, protein in them. Of course you can always find the good things in any food, right? There is something probably good in most things that we eat, but they don't want to tell you about the bad shit that's in them. And since I've cut out vegetables, that's when I noticed my anxiety went down, my sleep got better, my skin felt better, my gut felt better. I didn't have as much gas. And so it's been kind of crazy. And for me, what I always correlated it to is I'm allergic to all grass and tree pollen, right? And so in my head, I was always like, well, how is vegetables, like leafy green vegetables, not the same thing? Then you hear like guys like Dr. Paul Saladino and all these other doctors who are...
Paul Saladino. Yeah. This is one of the biggest scam artists on Instagram trying to sell you a carnivore-based diet. And he's fallen trap to this. Vegetables in general, people that eat more vegetables in blue zones of the world live longer and have better health outcomes. So if Josh wants to speak to his own anecdotal experience eating vegetables, totally fine. Vegetables have plenty of micronutrients, phytonutrients, fiber, which is probably why he mentions the gas. But some people have a really tough time digesting fiber appropriately, especially eating too many vegetables. You can look into this a little bit more. And especially if you have IBS, some people have significant, stomach triggers with IBS that eat a lot of vegetables, which is maybe something that he's experiencing. But this as a blanket statement is not right. Vegetables help outcomes significantly in health, micronutrients, phytonutrients, and Paul Saladino is an absolute clown.
Who are doing like more of like a carnivore style of eating, they talk about the things that are bad in our vegetables, right? Our oxalates, our sulfates, our, all the other things that we don't talk about that are...
He's kind of just like repeating stuff that he's heard, but there are small amounts of oxalates and sulfates in a lot of different foods, and there's no long-term issues with eating sulfates and oxalates over the long term. It's just buzzwords that you guys don't know what an oxalate or sulfate is, and so therefore it's very easy to throw out big words and then say something negative about it and then associate that with vegetables.
Are in vegetables. Yeah, of course there are good things in vegetables, but I think the bad outweighs the good.
That's where he's fucked up. The good outweighs the bad when it comes to vegetables for the general population. Maybe for him specifically, if he has negative inverse reactions when it comes to eating vegetables, that's totally fine. I want to respect kind of the way Josh feels about the foods he eats and what works for him. That's undebatable. But for most people, the health outcomes and the improvement eating vegetables, the good largely outweighs the bad when it comes to vegetables.
And for me, since I've removed them, which is about 4 years ago now, I have felt drastically better. So, and my blood work has come back and it's better. So
still N equals 1, subjective, anecdotal. It's just him.
That's the thing. Try it, for a month and see how you feel. See if you sleep better. See if you're a person with anxiety, see if that goes away. So
if you have no issues right now, like with your digestive health, and you eat vegetables, do not cut out vegetables. It's not a good recommendation.
Remember, by doing that though, you do have to replace some of those micronutrients. And probably the easiest way to do that is liver. That's what I have, started taking since removing the vegetables, is eating.
Also bad advice. Do not start eating liver. This is not some miracle food that people are eating that's completely replacing their micronutrient profile. It doesn't work that way.
Eating liver to get my micronutrients. On the vegetables, think about how much glyphosate, how much pesticides that we put on our vegetables, right? Even the organic ones. In the United States, a farm only has to not use pesticides for 3 years for it to be considered organic. But pesticides like glyphosate live in soil for 20 plus years. So yes, it might be organic, but that doesn't...
Let me address this glyphosate thing. You should not be eating glyphosate directly. It's definitely not good. Glyphosate is a herbicide, meaning it kills other crops around the vegetables and the fruits and all the other stuff. Next off, glyphosate is sprayed directly on the competing crop that they don't want to grow. It's not sprayed on the apple. You're not like spraying glyphosate on an apple. That's not how it works. Organic foods do not have glyphosate sprayed at all, even on the competing crops. A whole nother video I can do on organic versus non-organic foods. Nonetheless, the amount of glyphosate found in fruit, vegetables, other crops is so infinitesimally small. Trust me, guys, you don't have to worry about it.
That doesn't mean that, there might not still be some residuals from before. So something to think about, something to change. I'm not going to tell you it's the way to eat. I'm going to say it's how I do it, and I have enjoyed doing it.
Let me stop here for 1 second before he goes through his last foods. I respect Josh a lot. I take his creatine JB, and this is what works for Josh. I'm not trying to like crush Josh and be like, everything you're saying is wrong. But in terms of utilizing this for general population-based outcomes, there's a lot of inaccuracy here for that. But for him, it seems like it's working really well. Josh is a beast, man. So there's no denying that.
For the past 4 years. So something to think about. But if you're just a person who likes salads, which I don't know. I don't know if I believe you if you say you like a salad, but then continue to eat salads. My wife still eats salads. I'm not saying it's not for everyone, but for me, I have liked the way I felt since I've cut out vegetables in my life. Another big thing, seed oils, right? Canola oil, rapeseed oil, all these oils that really began in the machine industry, right? We use these oils to lubricate machinery, and all of a sudden we started putting them into our food. And if you can cut that stuff out, which is actually really hard to do. If you look on a box of anything, you're probably gonna find some sort of oil in them, right? And getting those out of your life will, I think, again, help your health drastically. So again, how I eat is I try to find, if I'm eating something, the ingredients list on it should be minimal, right?
Seed oils themselves, there are no studies, zero. I want somebody to find me a meta-analysis out there on how seed oils affect weight, inflammation, or anything in between without being dependent variable calories. You won't find a study out there. A lot of people are demonizing these seed oils when they're really just used because they have a very high smoke point. They're versatile and they're cheap. And so therefore they're used in foods to help with some of those aspects. But there is really great things about seed oils in general. They have omega-6s in them, and they're used in the food industry to be able to provide the plethora of food that basically we need. But, look, seed oils are a good source of polyunsaturated fats, omega-6 fatty acids, and all those things are essential for health. So take anything away from this video, quit demonizing seed oils. People are just using it as a buzzword. I even hear it from my clients. Oh, should I be eating these seed oils? Stop with the seed oils. Unless you're eating a crap ton of processed foods, that's an issue in and of itself, because with processed foods comes higher calories and a host of other things, but the seed oils inherently by themselves are not the problem.
1 to 3 ingredients, 1 to 4 ingredients, max, and I should be able to pronounce every single word on that ingredients list. So
just because you can't pronounce a word does not mean that you shouldn't eat food. Like, there are so many different things out there that we utilize for being able to stabilize our foods and just to be able to make sure that it has a longer shelf life and all these things. I can break down any one food. Like, I can take the actual chemicals comprised of in an apple, and you wouldn't be able to pronounce half of the words, if not more, because everything is broken down into individual little molecules, and this is what you're taking in. It's like, for example, the sugar in an apple is fructose. What if somebody, sees a label with fructose? They can't pronounce it. Doesn't mean they shouldn't eat it.
Alcohol, soda, sugar, processed foods, seed oils, and vegetables. Wow, vegetables. Who would have thought? I'm a lunatic.
He even knows he's
straight
wild.
lunatic.
He's wild
so
for saying that.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. That is, again, things that I think that if you remove from your diet, you're going to be better off for it. Try it out for yourself. See how you feel. Remove some of these stuffs. Then what you can do is put some of them back in, take them out for 30 days, put them back in after that, and see how you feel, right? And then you'll truly know what it feels like. But when you have this baseline where you're already eating it, it's going to be harder to tell. It's going to take some time to get it out of your system before you actually tell how it makes you feel. So take it out for 30 days, reintroduce it into your body, see how you feel that way. And that'll truly show you, what these foods that I'm talking to you about do for you, right? So Hope you liked that. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, do the thing. And as always,
pay the man, like and subscribe to Josh's channel. I appreciate the fact that I got to review this, and I hope this was helpful for you guys. Not bashing Josh here. Like, this is what works for him, but some of that stuff is not going to work for the general population. And every single one of us is individual, and we need to work on focusing on customizing what works for us over the long term. If that's you and you're confused about what foods to cut out, what foods to not cut out, and you need some accountability to get there, maybe you've been struggling for months or even years, but feel like you kind of know what to do, but you're not doing it, which is a lot of us. You could click the link below. You can learn more about our program of how we help people doing 4 to 5 watts per week, quit tracking macros forever, and feel confident, the best they've ever looked. So if that's you, click the link, and YouTube wants you to watch this video next.